Welcoming on Ashley. Hi, Ashley.
Hey, how's it going?
I'm great. How are you? So delighted to have you here today.
Oh my gosh, I'm doing good. I'm joining the glasses game today.
I love it. I've got the black cat eyes on myself.
Well, I am so incredibly excited to be here with you today.
I am as well. And so let's share just a little bit on your background. And the lead in here is talking about how powerful words are. And you are a true wordsmith. And there's a lot of love in what you do. However, even though this is where I've met you in your life, of course, you've had your own experiences and whatnot. So share a little bit about who you are, why you are doing this amazing work, and let's start our conversation.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so my name is Ashley Deluca. I kind of am like a dual of two roles. So I am an email marketing strategist, and then I'm also the CEO of George Bryant's company as well too. And so it's a mixture of both. It's a mixture of doing both things, but at the core of it, the real thing that comes back to it is like relationship-based marketing. And George was the first person that really allowed for me to have that full permission slip originally, now like over 4 years ago, to really dive in and just focus on being not just myself, but really focus as well too on like creating this conversational relationship-based email marketing approach and bringing it out into the world.
And this is where we met. We met at one of his events that took place in Montana in October. I know another one's coming up in March. So anyone who feels like you want to learn more about how to put your heart and soul into your email marketing, as a small business, that's really important to us. I am the face of my business, and I love everyone I get a chance to connect with. And of course, I'm not necessarily able to connect with each person on an individual daily basis. However, with my email, I can put my heart and soul out there and really give people an experience, not just of, buying a product and using a product, but of how to really feel who I am as a human being and an entrepreneur in this world. And so I'm so grateful for the work that you do. And I know that you've been on your own journey. So how did you end up in this email marketing CEO role?
Oh my gosh. Well, we started off first and foremost way back when. Picture myself at Panera with my best friend Cece. I always used to joke that she is double the age, hence double the wisdom. And we were sitting there at Panera, and up until that point in my life, I had just gone through the process of checking all of the check boxes. I feel like when we're born, we're given this like list of things that we're supposed to accomplish, that we're supposed to do, what this is supposed to look like. And a lot of times what that looks like is, for me anyway, small town girl, was moving into a big city, going to the university to like get your bachelor's degree, getting the boyfriend, climbing the corporate ladder. And I was doing all of those things like all at the same time, simultaneously. And I got to that point in Panera with my best friend, and I was just like, I don't understand why I'm not happy. Like, why I don't feel fulfilled, why this, like, dream that I've been sold just isn't cutting it. And what's so interesting is at that moment, she literally looked across from me at the table, and she was like, Ashley, you can just create it, right? And I was just like, wait, hold up. What are you talking about? What do you mean I can just create what I want to create? Because I was explaining to her like my vision and my desire and the things that I wanted to accomplish in life. And she's like, you just got to go and create it for yourself. And it was at that moment in Panera that I opened up my first online business, which was called Blank Slate Media Consulting. And I originally started off as a web designer. And so I was doing Craigslist ad, website work, $50 for a web page, $5 for something else. And it was just like this process of just like, I will do anything just to get experience. Like, let me show you who I am and what I do. Email marketing ended up falling into my lap because I got into a stage in my business where I was just like, I want to do all the things. Like, again, I'm here for the money. Like, I just like want to save up for this custom built home that I want. Like, I'm willing to try anything and everything, understanding that I'm new to this and like you're okay with that. And so email marketing was something that like fell into my lap, something that I didn't even try for my web design business, but just didn't feel aligned. And so that was where that kind of breaking point came, where I was just like, holy guacamole, like this isn't gonna work. Like it just didn't feel right. It didn't feel true. It didn't feel aligned. It was very much so like the opposite of what you were just describing earlier about email. Like I felt like it was just like a promo reel all about me. I felt like just checking the boxes wasn't good enough, right? And so that's when I went through and I discovered George Brent, because I was like, I really want to do email marketing, but just not in the same way as like what everyone else is doing. And he talked about this like relationship based approach. And I was like, this is what I've been trying to say. Because I was at that time sending emails about my dog, and everyone was loving these relatable emails around my dog. But I was trying to figure out how I could take this relatability and turn it into actual customers, because it wasn't correlating for me. And so Nick is like peering. You want to say hello? He's just like right here, peering up. He's like, what is going on? You're online? But anywho, and that's where that like originally began. I joined his mastermind, ended up coming to his events, and it was kind of just like a natural progression into taking a step from just like, oh, we have a light, being just, you know, an attendee, someone as part of it, and now being able to like basically link arms into the vision and then bring it to life for everybody else.
And what I'm hearing is so much transformation and change. And I think there are so many people out there who are like you, who have the checklist, who are like, how come I'm following all the steps, the things that Hollywood has projected onto the TV screen that tells me how I'm supposed to, you know, live a good life, or the things that you are told growing up. And then there's that, but I want something more. Something here about this isn't fully fulfilling. And being able to, you know, it sounds so easy. Oh, just create it, right? Like, but to someone who's in that situation of like overwhelm or aren't quite sure where to start, that can feel in and of itself challenging. And so I think that what you're talking about here is really important, because it allows us to imagine what we could evolve and create. And so I think, what was like the first step for just creating it? It was putting up ads. It was like, how did you envision where you wanted to go to get to that custom built home?
Oh my gosh. Well, let me tell you, for a good portion of my life, I was very like vision board type. I was like, I'm going to draw the vision board. I'm going to put it, like, I remember at one point I had made like a Canva printable, and I put it in my office cubicle at the time. And that was like what drove the vision. It was like a kind of almost like idea concept of the house. And for me, like, the visuals were so incredibly helpful, because I was able to actually see it and be like, oh, I can actually picture myself there. And so making that visual was really incredibly important for me. But it's so interesting, because now I really struggle with bringing the visuals to life. And so it's like, if you can do the visuals, like if you're in that stage where it works, do it, because it worked. Now I'm like, okay, the visuals aren't doing it for me. Like, now what do I do? Like, what does that look like? And for me, it's really just about like experimenting, like with my own brain, like what is possible, like taking past those limits. And I think that's like also too what happens is that a lot of times we like create these limits. We create these limits for ourselves, and then it ends up being this whole thing where we just basically like sink ourselves before we're even able to fly. And so it's like a new process of being able to like step back and go into this knowing that like, cool, like let's just go wings across, and like let's just go fly and see what happens.
Well, and I love that you're starting with the visual. So I think anyone who's new to that practice, it can be incredibly valuable. I was also someone who was really into vision boards, and, you know, and what I found is some of the things would come true, but some of them didn't. And so it's not like, oh, I did the one thing. Now everything is going to fall into place, because we're so multidimensional in terms of who we are as beings. Plus, we also have trauma and lessons that we're learning from and evolving from, and that can be its own adventure and journey in and of itself. And I agree. Like, I have found tools, they've worked, and then I shift to other tools, and then maybe I bring those other tools back. And so if visuals aren't doing it, are you able to? I actually just had this conversation with a friend last night where I was like, well, what's your ideal person? Well, all she could think of was what she didn't want.
Yeah.
And then realizing, oh, I keep talking about what I don't want, and that's who keeps showing up. So how, you know, shifting the mind then into what you do want and writing that story, I think, is so powerful. And so how are you managing to move into these bigger visions of yourself?
Oh man, it's definitely a lot of work around like releasing what I don't want, because that's like where I've been the past like year, is like I've been like taking the things that I don't want and recreating those into what I do want. Like, for an example, I'm like, okay, I definitely don't want, and this may be really silly, but I definitely don't want a house with like brown walls in it, because my last home I was in had all brown walls and tan walls. So I was like, I really want white or cream walls. And like those simple little pieces of just like, I want this as opposed to this is what has like really gained that clarity for me of like knowing, because for the longest time, I felt so restrained within what I felt like I could have or what I could want. And so, you know, being able to like open the door to be like, man, I would really like to have this kind of car, or I would love to have this kind of backyard, or I want to have these things, like for so long just felt like, I really honestly just something that I felt like I couldn't have, and something that just wasn't going to be in the cards for me. And so now, like, with those reshiftings, now it's like going through this process of like rewiring what those thoughts are. And again, really, like you just mentioned, like paying attention to not saying I don't want this, but saying like, this is what I want, and speaking that out instead.
Well, and for me, what I try to do then is to imagine I have it, or imagine I'm in that
Yeah.
space, which again, it sounds easy, and yet it can be difficult, because especially when I've put limitations on myself, or I've bought into limitations other people have put on me, like you're saying, I don't deserve that, or there's no way that could possibly happen. And then when I'm able to put myself into the sensation and the experience, like, so this happened. This happened at George's event. I won the Rochambeau, and I did my victory lap, and I went and I told everybody that what I had done is I had went down to the lake and I had meditated and I had asked for a sign, and I really trusted and knew that I was going to win this Rochambeau contest, or rock, paper, scissors. And I had no idea. It wasn't even about the prize. It was for putting it in my mind that I was going to do this, I was going to win this, and lo and behold, I did. And it was such an exciting feeling, because it was so random, right? On a certain level, there was no way. Yes, it's sort of a game of chance more than skill. Even though I had done some of the homework and this and that, and it was so empowering, because something so small as like winning a little contest just reminded me, it sparked in me that when I'm really committed and go after the thing that I love and desire, I can attract that to me. And so it's just getting really clear on what those desires are, and being able to infuse that love, infuse those relationships into these communications while also making money, because that was the other challenge for me as an entrepreneur, is like, who am I to take this money, and what is, I grew up more, poverty, more, lower on the totem pole in that regard. And there's all these sort of feelings I had about wealth and deservedness there, that it was awkward for me when I first started my journey to ask for the sale, to close that. And yet, as I've evolved, on this path, and I'm sure you can share this, that like when those feelings shift away from worthlessness into worthiness, and recognizing that money is currency, right? It's a medium through which other things can happen that are bigger than just, numbers in a bank account, or, having a fancy car. There's more to it than that. And that it really is currency. There's an electricity to it. There's an energy to it. And it's valuable to invest it and spend it just as much as it is to receive it and be in that constant flow. So I know I'm saying a lot of different things here, but how does this resonate with the type of practice that you guys engage in with the email marketing?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like, I think the energy portion is something that I talk about a lot, because I feel like a lot of times when you go to open up an email, there's an energy that's like associated with it. Or if you want to like take it down a notch, it's more about like the feeling associated with it. And one of the things that I've always like worked on with my clients specifically is like, how do you want your people to feel when they open up your email? And a lot of times that feeling is not necessarily like immediately associated with your like content or the subject line. It's actually with your name. And so like when you go through the process of opening an email from me, Ashley Deluca, when you see my name pop up in your inbox, there's a certain feeling that I want you to associate with that. Whether that is a feeling of like love, or a feeling of kindness, or a feeling of just like, oh my gosh, I know this girl's got me, like with something fun around email marketing. Like there's a feeling that you want to intentionally figure out what it is for you first, whether that is serious, whether it's fun, whether it's like, for me, it's more of like that, like sweet kind of vibe. That's where you want to start. And then within that, that's where your content then comes into it, because that's when you can start to think about, okay, how does my content then resonate with that feeling that I want to create? Now, when you're in a sales or a launch period, urgency may be one of those. Urgency may not be every single one of those. But I think it's like really important to know that, like, as you start to map it out, as you start to figure out what that looks like, is like, don't put them on like a bumpy roller coaster, put them on like a smooth roller coaster. And that's where like the planning comes into play and the strategy that comes into it. And so there's a lot of pieces that go into creating essentially an experience. Just like as we map out the events, it's very much so like we map out the emails that then create that before and after experience to be able to help you feel safe and excited and loved and just like all of that. So that way when you enter into the room, that is already like created for you. That's already been set, and you know, like have that expectation as well too.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for listening to this preview here on YouTube. If you'd like to hear the rest of this interview, along with other useful resources such as show notes, links, and special offers, we'd love to extend an invitation for you to join our Kombucha Kamp Plus Bubbles with Benefits member rewards program. By becoming a member, you'll earn bubbles with every Kombucha Kamp purchase for free products, and that's not all. We also offer birthday Booch Day rewards, access to members-only sales, high-quality bonus content, including Kombucha Clutch Hangs with me, the Kombucha Mama, and my special guests, a free digital brew journal to track your master brews and experiments, and more. Now here's the best part. It is only $7.99 a month. For $79.99 for the year, you get 2 months free with the annual membership. You can learn more and join our Bubbles with Benefits program at kombuchakamp.com/kombuchakamp+.html. Don't forget, that's Kamp with a K, because we're cute and clever over here. And don't forget, trust your gut.